What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 25 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Wow. We're a quarter of a century if each episode was a year.
I know.
That'd be insane.
It's gone so... It's on, the annual podcast, it is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Yeah. It's hard to believe we've seen so much. But
so
we look close so young.
We're coming back from E3.
Yeah.
This shit's crazy. I can't even believe it.
No.
We're 25 now. We're a whole new person. It's awesome as always. I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games. Colin Moriarty, Greg Miller.
Hello.
I like that name.
Jesus.
And I like that name is starting to be a thing.
Yeah, people said it to us at E3 a lot.
I like
Said,
that.
the coolest guys in
I
video
like
games.
to know that the dumb bullshit that I say resonates.
Eventually,
And somebody cares.
It's going to resonate with someone.
yeah.
It
Someone
is.
out there.
Yeah,
Usually
someone out
Kevin.
there that cares.
Sometimes Alfredo.
Before it was just Kevin and Alfredo.
Yeah.
Now I
Look
have
at Kevin. He's
other
just
people
sitting there and moping around.
doing his thing.
Look how happy he is. All right, nobody can see him, so don't waste time on him.
Yeah. Before we get into this whole thing, I do have one thing to ask you.
Oh, here we
guys.
go. Good. We're finally getting to the brass tacks.
Yeah, brass taxes of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I find it surprising that people are so vocal about the whole first and last episode, whatever.
They know I hate it.
But it's because you hate it.
Yeah.
I swear that if you never brought any attention to it, no one would have ever said anything about it. There'd be some people that like it just because they feel like they're in on a joke or something.
Yeah.
I just do it. You know what I mean? At this point, I just do it because I've been doing it, and that's how I do things, right?
Yeah.
But my lord, there's some people out there. Since we've started Kind of Funny, I don't think there's ever been something people have been meaner to me about.
Meaner? They're mean about it? How are they mean?
I'm not sure if they're joking or not, but there's a lot of people that are just like, it's so fucking stupid. It's insulting to me. I'm like, good lord.
Don't be mean about it.
You know the rule, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have to know the rule.
So,
saying
You complain about something
we're in chomp down
that's
harder.
totally inconsequential.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it even more. Like someone today was complaining that I used the word extraordinary too much, so I don't know if you saw the tweets.
Yeah,
I just kept
awesome.
sending him tweets about how extraordinary he was and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
That's just the way it's got to go. I'm sorry. You know,
Don't be mean to Tim,
Save
everybody.
your complaints.
Thank you.
Save your complaints for the the audio's bad or something's
It's
wrong with the
unbearable.
video or there's late.
We fuck a lot of
We
things
make
up.
enough real mistakes that we
Yeah.
don't need to hear about the BS ones.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just interesting to me because it's one of those things that I don't think it's that important enough to have an opinion about.
No. And I don't really care either. I just
But I just
Now
think
it's
it's
your
weird.
thing.
It's not like I like it. It's not like it's a thing that I'm proud of that I'm like, oh, I think this is really funny. Like, it's just something I do.
Okay.
You know?
I'll
It's like
allow
the
it.
word rigmarole.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Rigmarole.
Keep
whatever
doing
it is.
your thing.
I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do me.
Don't worry about the haters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're going to hate no
Anyways,
matter
ladies
what.
and gentlemen, if you didn't know, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. It's like the Game Over Greggy show, but we're talking about video games. And it comes out every week, Monday through Thursday, over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Breakouts. They'll come to you. They're free, and it's good. But if you want the whole episode early, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, and you can get it. It'll be great. It's $1. Pay more, you can do a whole bunch of other cool
Is
stuff.
this one worth $1?
This one will be worth $1.
Let's not gauge yet. We don't know yet.
I think
for
it
sure.
will. We got a
Tim
lot of
always says ahead of time if
yeah,
it is
but
or
we,
isn't.
we got a lot of good topics on this one that I'm actually really excited about because one of them, I'm just giving a little preview of topic 3. It's going to be No Man's Sky because Greg got to play it.
That's right. I've touched it. I've played it. I've
and I
been
got a lot
out
of
in
questions
space,
about that. And
flying.
I haven't talked to you about it because
Really?
I wanted, not really. I mean, you
Okay.
gave me a quick update, but like I was waiting.
You want to
for
get
this.
you
I
want to get in the weeds
real
about it. You want
thing.
the No Man's Sky mud between your toes, man, and you want me to put it in my mouth and spray it on your face.
And that's a nice segue. This episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. If you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or a pop culture nerd, then this is the subscription box for you. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items of gamer and pop culture licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. I'm sure you're very familiar. Loot Crate's been very nice to us.
They're awesome.
They've been very nice.
They've been awesome.
The new Cyber Crate just got here. Kevin tore it apart.
Dope
Cyber
ass
Crate.
Optimus Prime
And he
t-shirt.
took it from you. He didn't let you have it.
Okay, he then gave it to me though.
Nope.
One side, he gave it to me. He's a good dude.
Hard to believe you guys are the same size.
Oh my god! So make sure to head to lootcrate.com/kfgames. So that's
I don't even mean it as a fat joke. I just mean you have different
KF
bodies.
And enter the code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Every month there's a different theme, and all items are curated around that theme. So basically, Loot Crate's like a friend who knows what you love and surprises you with an awesome present every month. I like that. I like that bit that they put because it's like.
That makes sense. That's a good way to boil it down.
You're good at boiling it down. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, that's it. You're never getting that crate again, guys.
Oh my God.
So you better get on that. So go to lootcrate.com/kfgames, enter the code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. Bam. Thank
Done.
you. We are done. All right.
Done.
Thank you,
So-
Loot Crate, for your support.
As I said, this is our first post E3 Gamescast.
Thank God. Stretch our legs.
So many people have questions. So
really?
many people want to know different things.
About E3?
About E3, we played different games. We saw a bunch of shit. There was a lot of
Didn't play a
announcements.
goddamn thing.
No, we did a lot of. If you guys saw, we did a Gamescast for every press conference except for Square, because that was butting up against us doing the actual show.
GameSpot
And
Cross. Kind of funny. Not to be confused with NX.
Yeah, that's higher.
NX is high. GameSpot Cross 20 is down here.
It's low. Yeah. So we did a lot of stuff. We did a game of the show thing, which we gave to Horizon.
Right?
And that game looks amazing. But something that we didn't do on Gamescast, and everybody, I got maybe 20 tweets, but I'm going to give a shout out specifically to Nicholas Salazar at the Nick Salazar.
Big fan. I see his name a lot.
He's a good dude. He wants to know who won E3. Also, what the hell's going on with Nintendo? That's a side thought. Good things.
The gamer won E3.
Yes.
So-
Good answer, Greg.
So the thing there, we're not going to do that bullshit because obviously we won. But to be fair, I think that this year, more than the last couple, seriously, we won.
Yeah, totally.
There's going to be so many games that are playing. Like, I am stoked. And every single person I talk to, they're excited about different games. And that's really cool. Even Nick, like, he saw things like Gang Beast, which has been around for a long time for people paying attention. But for someone like Nick, he's just looking at it and he's like, I can't wait for that.
That game really looks hilarious.
It's,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm excited it's finally coming to console, which reminds me I got an email. Double fun.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
I'm going to cross my fingers this whole show so I don't forget that you do it.
Okay, good.
A lot of show ahead.
Oh
of us,
yeah, I
don't
know.
worry.
Yeah. I was seeing how long you'd actually hold out. Anyway, so we discussed what our game of the show was, but that's a different question than who won. You know, typically that comes down to the big three: Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Which one of them won? First off, before we even get into this, do you think that's the same? Do you think that we can judge this on the same scale in 2015? Or do we need to
Meaning
change
what?
that? Like, do you think that that's still the right way to judge who won E3?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's all in the eye of the beholder, right?
all-
Like
yeah,
we
it's just
talking,
goofy.
talking on Colin and Greg Live about how fucks to give are in the eye of the beholder. For instance, I don't have any fucks to give, but that's in my that's for me. Some other person might have a lot of fucks to give. I found some fucks today during Colin and Greg Live. Take that as you will.
Yeah.
I think that the more I've marinated on this, the more I've come to different conclusions than my immediate reaction, which was that Sony won. And I thought that because Sony, and I still think that in a sense because Sony's games just speak to me more. I mean, we're very open about that. So when I see games like The Last Guardian or Horizon or Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know a lot of people think is coming out of the consoles and it might, but they said as of today, like they're only making it for PlayStation 4. They're not even worried about the other consoles and stuff like that yet. So you might never see that on anything else. Who the hell knows? But we'll call that a multi-plat. But there are games, and announcements at that particular conference that just spoke to me on a level of a gamer. It's not to say Microsoft didn't, because I'm really excited about Gears 4, for instance, and obviously Inafune's game Recore makes me really excited. But I think that if you look at who won from a paradigm-shifting place in terms of coming into their own, in terms of changing perception, then Microsoft probably won.
You understand where I was coming from.
Because I think that Microsoft's doing all of the right things now. Microsoft and Sony's still doing the right things, but Microsoft, it's fresh and exciting for Microsoft because they just hadn't been doing the right things for a while. Ever since they rolled out Xbox One, it really took them a while to catch their footing after they kind of stumbled and fell. But backwards compatibility, I've said for a while now since it was announced, is the biggest announcement at the show. I think that's a hugely consequential announcement. I like that they took aim at Sony specifically in that announcement by saying we're not going to make you pay for your games that you already own. Of course, this is a thing that has to have publisher cooperation, and it's not going to be everything immediately, but could it be everything eventually? Giving Xbox One potentially 1,000 new games, which is huge. It's fucking huge, and it's a pro-consumer move. I think it's a very popular move for a console that's already cheaper than its competitor. So I think Microsoft might have won E3 depending on how you look at it. And if you look at it from that perspective and look at it from changing minds and closing the gap with PlayStation, then certainly they probably did win, because the other stroke of genius, as we talked about before, is that they showed games much like Sony did that are a ways off, with the exception of Halo and Tomb Raider. In other words, they showed games like Recore that are next year. Gears 4, doesn't have a date yet, but then they show Gears, and they Gears Remake, and they show Halo, and they show Tomb Raider, and they show the Rare Collection, and all these kinds of things that are immediate. The tide is changing for Microsoft. Sony should be worried about what's happening over there, because Sony's games are all still in the future. We're going to talk about No Man's Sky in a little while. No Man's Sky is effectively a PlayStation exclusive for now anyway, and I'm still not super convinced that that's going to be on anything else except for PC. But we'll see, right? Because Sony's putting so much time and money into that game. I don't know what the publishing deal is, but I don't necessarily think that is 100% coming to other consoles. But let's assume that they treat that as an exclusive. and it comes out this year. Well, they have that and Uncharted Collection, and that's it. And Microsoft has Tomb Raider, Rare Collection, the Gears remake, Halo 5, and Forza 6. It's a substantial exclusive lineup. And I keep saying, as we said on Colin and Greg today, Greg, that I hope Sony doesn't announce anything for this fall because I just want to see how it plays out with nothing.
As an industry fan and analyst,
exactly.
You want to see what happens. Right now, I mean, the big thing is Microsoft's moving all its pieces into position. And they're getting ready to start this war, right? To really unleash the troops here. And that's what E3 was, and why when we did the initial conversation afterwards, where I was like, I don't know if it's as cut and dry that Sony won. That was what I was saying.
And you were right. I was wrong about that.
I love you. Well, this goes back to my point before of like, Colin's the kind of guy who doesn't entrench himself in his opinion. He will sit there and evaluate and change when evidence is brought up. Is the fact that, they put all these pieces in place of like, we have this year covered and we have next year covered. And then, hey, Sony's been showing you Morpheus forever. And you think it's neat, but not that cool. But here's HoloLens. Here's one HoloLens demo that matters. Enough for everybody to go, that looks really cool. I'd like to know more about that. And then we'll move on to back to games and do all these different things. And they've set it up to see, if there is nothing really for Sony this fall, if it is No Man's Sky and it is Uncharted and that's it, what does that mean? The gap is going to close, I think, significantly in terms of what the lead is and how that's going. And then it'll get to be a smaller gap, and then you'll see Microsoft start pulling ahead next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. And this is the thing, as an industry analyst, as someone who just loves numbers and loves the way the business side of the games work, and often the stories behind the games, we've said many times, much more interesting than the games themselves,
right.
And I still believe that. I feel like it might not matter. And that's why I want to see what happens, because now we're going to have it. It's not fucking academic at that point. It's going to be on the market, right? No Man's Sky, I mean, they say they're going to have data information soon. I presume that means it's going to come out this fall. I don't know that for sure. We know we're getting Uncharted Collection this fall from Bluepoint. But Sony has sold 25 million or so PlayStation 4s with no games.
With no exclusives,
and so
that you need.
Exactly. There's nothing on the console with the exception of, I would say Bloodborne is probably its strongest exclusive.
And that's not a game that's like moving units.
Exactly. And then you have good games like Infamous and Killzone. But nothing like on the level of probably what you'll get with Uncharted, for instance. And Until Dawn is coming out in August, and then Uncharted Collection, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it won't be an academic exercise at that point. At that point, we're going to see if it really does matter, because so far it has not mattered at all. And that's the amazing thing about it. And maybe Sony's, I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe Sony's looking at it and saying, well, we have Fallout. They've known about that for a long time, no doubt.
Sure.
You know, we have Fallout coming out, and so does Xbox One, and we have Call of Duty, and we have Battlefront. We have all these games. It doesn't really matter, you know? And I wonder, you know, obviously Naughty Dog does whatever they want, so I'm sure that they would have liked to have that game this fall, but, you know, I want to see it play out, because I just don't know if it's going to matter. If it doesn't matter, then Microsoft's in fucking huge trouble. And that's the thing that I want to see if that plays out or not.
The fact that Sony's done so well right now with no true exclusive of their own, I think really, you and I have done this beat for a long time, and we cover the fuck out of the first parties, right? The fact that Sony's done so well right now, and if nothing changes this fall because of it, I think that speaks so much to their third-party team, that Adam Boyes-led team, and the fact that, Batman Arkham Knight's out, and where do you get the exclusive Batman console? It's a PlayStation 4. Destiny was a PlayStation 4. And granted, we've talked before, those numbers didn't seem outrageous that they were moving units that way, but it's the inverse of what last year was, last generation was, where it was every time you saw something, it would go boom and be the Xbox 360 logo, and people are like, oh, that game's going to be on Xbox 360. I'm going to play it on Xbox 360. Whereas right now, it seems like it's a PlayStation 4 ideal.
Yeah, and the fact that you see Battlefront, and that seems very PS4 heavy. Like Sony is pushing that game. Like I think that's a big thing there, where you're right. It's like last gen was Xbox, this gen is PlayStation, and that's crazy, because to the general consumer, that's what matters.
Yeah,
like they see this and they don't give a crap if it's on both systems or not. They just know, oh, it's on this system, I need this system. So
yeah. I think that it's all about perception. I don't. Usually, there's a clear-cut winner. It's typically been Sony. I think we can all agree on that the last 2 years or so, with the exception of this year, because the more I marinate on it, and that's what I was saying was, I'm like, well, what was the point of the conference? You know, if the point was to move the needle significantly, then Microsoft wins.
Yeah.
If the point was to show me games that I want to play, then Sony wins.
Right.
I think so. Again, it is super perception heavy. The other winner, of course, is Bethesda.
Right
now. I was really impressed with Bethesda's showing. First of all, Doom looks fucking awesome, and I love that they're just calling it Doom. It looks great. Some people were complaining about it's too violent, it's too bloody. I don't give a fuck. The thing I love about the game,
I'm Colin Moriarty. I don't give a fuck about
the thing I love about the game is that there's zero pretension about it. There's no story. It doesn't give a flying fuck why you're doing what you're doing. It's a game. You know, and a lot of people feel like they can't make games like that anymore. And that's not an inconsequential game. It is making the game, and Bethesda's publishing it. It's a huge studio and a huge publisher putting this game out, and it's just like, it's just Doom, you know? and I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, they'll have context, but, you know, I don't think it's going to be a very story-heavy affair. And then, obviously, Dishonored 2 looks cool, and I feel bad that the game leaked the day before, but it is what it is. And then, obviously, Fallout 4 is going to blow everyone away, and people still think I'm overestimating how well that game is going to do. And I think
They're stupid.
I think you're going to be.
Don't be stupid.
If you're really surprised why, say, Tomb Raider might be in trouble that it's coming out the same day Fallout 4 is, you'll know in November why it's going to be in trouble, because that game is going to fucking trounce everything around it. So, you know, I feel I like Bethesda's stance because I just don't think they're going to do this again, and I'd be really interested to see if they do. There's no reason for them to do it again. All of their games will be out, with the exception of maybe Doom, by that point. Right?
If they do it again, it'll be far flung. It'll be the same thing. All the stars align. That, oh, hey, we have four great titles we need to talk about.
Right, exactly.
That's why this happened.
Elder Scrolls, I'm assuming the next time there is one, it'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. They're not fierce about annualizing. And as we talked about in our pre-show before the conference, Bethesda seems to be mostly focused on building games internally and publishing them, much like Ubisoft. So they have their work cut out for them because they just don't have that many studios. Ubisoft has a lot of studios that are places you've never fucking heard of in cities you've never heard of around the world that make all of these games, right? Ubisoft Sofia, I think, was the one that made Assassin's Creed on Vita, right? So it was like all of these random studios. Bethesda has a smaller group of studios that are bigger names, I think, like id, for instance, or Bethesda Game Studios, which are the RPG makers. And I think that they just give them time to make games. I don't think Bethesda's ultimate goal or you know, ZeniMax's ultimate goal is to become EA. I think their whole thing is like, we make premium games that are going to sell 10 million copies.
Yeah.
And, you know, but Fallout 4 will easily sell 10 million copies. Doom is probably good for 5, if not more, depending on how good it is. Dishonored will do a few million. So, like, they're ultimately trying to get to that point where, like, we make a premium product, which tells me that, you know, they put everything into this particular showing and the stars did align, and you will not see them at E3 next year, at least in a conference sort of way. So I think that they're huge winners because they made such a huge splash. And then I think everyone else did okay. I think there's some losers. I certainly think Nintendo is probably the major loser. I don't know if you guys necessarily agree with that. I think it's clear as the day is long, personally.
They're taking it on the chin hard right now because it was what people wanted. I thought it was an entertaining conference, which is the opposite of EA's. And now, granted, EA didn't speak to me in terms of games. You know what I mean? Pele comes out and stuff. And I understand that I'm maybe not the target audience for that. But overall, it just wasn't super entertaining. Whereas at least Nintendo, I thought, had the interstitials and the jokes and whatever. And I think it speaks again to what I always say is that I don't think what gamers want Nintendo to be, I don't think Nintendo wants to be that. So I don't know. But yeah, Nintendo definitely is the one. Like you always thought, we were talking about the day after, we were finally able to look at the coverage, that it wasn't just us. It was like people in the internet in general were like, this wasn't good.
Yeah, but I think the difference there, though, is like you're saying that the EA conference, and we talked about this a couple times last week, but who was that geared towards? Like, who is the audience for
when you're
Pele
that
to come
expansive?
out?
I don't know if you, I mean, that's the whole thing is like, and that's why they had to be, hey, everybody, who wants to talk about mobile? 15 minutes until Battlefront. Like, we know why you want to watch this.
Exactly, but even then, it's like, who is the audience for the mobile stuff? Like, I don't think that there needs to be a press conference talking about these games. Like, the audience is on their phones. They're not watching E3. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand the need to, like, talk about the new Madden and all the new sports stuff. The people that are going to play those games know that they're coming, and we don't need to hear about the features and stuff. If people want to hear the features, they'll go to IGN. They'll go to GameSpot. They'll figure it out, right? Yeah. Wasting the time of the press conference seems weird to me because it just bogs it down. Whereas Nintendo stuff, it's like maybe it didn't speak to us because it wasn't the games we wanted. But, I mean, all the Animal Crossing stuff, I'm sure the people that love Animal Crossing were like, fuck yeah. You know, seeing Star Fox, I was like, fuck yeah. I have my issues, but it's like, still, it's Star Fox, you know? Mario Maker, I'm sold. All the Japanese games, not necessarily my thing. And even the Fire Emblem stuff, I'm like, I love Fire Emblem, but I don't want this.
Okay, well, then you're being a hypocrite. Because you can't say that about the Japanese games and then be like, if you want to know about Madden, they'll go to IGN. Like, these conferences are to show your portfolio.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, there's a difference between EA and Nintendo in the fact that the Madden stuff, it's like they're aiming at nobody really. Like, even those people don't need to hear the new updates and stuff. They're going to buy the game. The people that are fans of the Japanese games, that is an audience that is the right place to tell them that information.
Yeah. I don't know if I fully agree. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. I think EA's was by far the most traditional E3 press conference, right? We've seen all the first parties move away from that. You've seen Ubisoft. I mean, now it's been years. You think traditional Ubisoft, you think Aisha Tyler, but that was a deal when they moved away and had her, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mr. Caffeine.
I wonder what that would look like. No, like, you know, EA's was very much like, here's your next talking head. Here's the next game in our portfolio. Here's what it's doing feature-wise. I understand.
I think that there's two things that are worth noting about, well, who are the mobile announcements and the sports announcements for, right? They're for USA Today. They're for the New York Times. They're for the Wall Street Journal. They're for all these newspapers and mainstream coverage, and they're also for their stockholders.
Right, exactly.
You know, so that's where E3 gets really complicated. And why Sony, for instance, does a really convoluted kind of thing where they do a lot of conferences at TGS and stuff like that in Japan, where they usually have 2 conferences because, you know, or just speak multiple times because they're speaking to a lot of different audiences. So at E3, yeah, you want to speak to us, but we're not the only people they're speaking to. And frankly, EA finds a write-up in the Wall Street Journal 50 times more valuable than they do a write-up in IGN, guaranteed. You know, like it's just so like
public perception.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, IGN's audience, for instance, already knows about all these games, and they don't care really. Like they're gonna buy Madden. If you're gonna buy FIFA, you're gonna buy FIFA. It doesn't matter like what it's reviewed. But a write up for a casual audience that reads Wall Street Journal at the dinner table after drinking coffee and eating dessert or whatever with their family, that's a pretty big thing for them. So they have to aim at those kinds of things. The other thing that EA had that Nintendo frankly did not have were bombshells. Right? They showed Mass Effect for the first time, which is huge, and Mass Effect Andromeda. Then in the middle, they show Mirror's Edge, which is huge. And then at the end, they show Battlefront, which is huge. And all those games are going to sell,
and
especially
when you go back and you look at EA and you talk about tentpoles and stuff like that, that's when I was like, oh yeah, that was cool. It was just in the moment to moment of just like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't care about Plants vs.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was the problem with Nintendo is that, I mean, I thought Star Fox was so obvious that I predicted not only would it be at the conference, but it would be shown first.
Yeah.
Because that was obvious, right? And then other than that, nothing. Like literally nothing. And I don't think Star Fox looks good at all. And Star Fox isn't going to sell. Newsflash, you know? So the more I thought about that conference, the more I'm like, this is weak. But it wasn't until I really started reading NeoGAF and all these places where I'm like, people fucking hated that conference. Like I couldn't. Usually, all the Nintendo fans hate me, right?
Yeah.
I say something about Nintendo, they're all mad at me. But I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like they're finally maybe seeing that this company is like a wreck, you know? And the one thing I felt bad about with Nintendo, frankly, was what everyone's expectations were. They're in the space in between right now. I don't know what the fuck you want them to do. You know, they cannot talk about their next console yet, and they said they weren't going to. And they have to ride it out and get some games out, but they're not going to talk about the next big Mario game, and they're not going to talk about Zelda because guess what? They're going to talk about those things when they're ready to talk about them, and they're probably associated with NX. You know,
Yeah.
I think I'm becoming more. I'm becoming more and more. I thought it was crazy, but I'm becoming more and more certain that this new Zelda game is the Twilight Princess. In terms of it'll be like a legacy game, and it'll be on the next system as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of the Nintendo Direct because, of course, I want them to win. I want them to be good, and it's like I just can't say that they did based on what they showed. And I was thinking, like, what could they have done to fix it? And it's like I don't think there's anything. Like, I really don't think there's any announcements they could have made. Like, even if they came out with a Metroid Prime and a new Mario and all this stuff, it's like at the end of the day, it still would have been all right. Like, it would have been the equivalent of EA. Where it's like you had those, there's those couple big things, but besides that, overall, people are still going to look down on it and be like, whatever. And I think that the fact that they didn't show those things shows that they know that they're in the transition period. And maybe it's a good thing we didn't see Mario Galaxy 3 or whatever the hell that would be, because it's showing that it's like they're not going to like keep trying to fail. They're going to wait for the NX or hopefully whatever that is.
Take their lumps and keep going.
Yeah. You know, and like that, to me, that's a win. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean they win E3, but it definitely means like I think that conference, it was good for me because it's like there are games that I can't wait to play from that show. That's all I needed. I wish there was a surprise, and there wasn't. And because there was no surprise, it was a shitty conference.
Muppets were surprising.
That was quite the surprise.
Yeah, it was surprising, and that had haunted my dreams for the next few nights. But yeah, I think that I feel bad for Nintendo because there's a few things, right? No game company would get away with the shit they've been showing the last couple of years if they weren't Nintendo, and that's an obvious thing that you have to say, right? They're getting by on legacy purely at this point, but they've earned it. So I don't really get necessarily mad about that because I know that they are again in the space in between, and like they just have to figure out, and I'm sure are figuring out what they're going to do. I think Nintendo returns to E3 in a major way, in a live way next year,
with the debut
with a new console, or whatever it is. Who the hell really knows what it is? Piece of hardware, something.
Google Glass.
But again, just hearing, Iwata apologized on Twitter, for like that showing. Then Reggie comes out and says, oh, he wasn't really apologizing and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I think he was apologizing. Then they say really backwards things like, oh, VR is not fun and it's boring. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Just stop talking. Recede into the background and figure everything out, because day by day you're losing people. When people start feeling like I've felt about Nintendo for a long time, and that seems to be a really common thing now, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, and I don't care how popular you are. You're in a lot of trouble. And, you better figure your shit out. And I want Nintendo to just go away, just be quiet, trickle out these other games that you just need to get out, like Yoshi and all these other games, and just come back and shove your boot in everyone's ass next year. You know what I mean? And they're just not going to do it. I know in the back, I expected them to do it with Wii U.
Yeah, I know. Everyone did.
And I thought, because we had such a bad... It was there, and it sold very respectably, and games sold, but it was just a joke, by the end. And I knew that they knew that. And when they revealed Project Cafe and all these kinds of things, I was like, yes. Yeah. Like, show us what you can do and get us back and make us excited again. And the Wii U was a rush to market, ill-conceived, underpowered console.
I'll never forget that E3 when they unveiled the Wii U.
And everyone knew what it was.
Going into it, but it was the bad no one knew where it was. Whereas going into it, it was the good no one knew where it was. And everyone was just like, oh, it's rumored to be called just the Nintendo Entertainment System. They're fixing the problems. They're doing all this stuff. And I'll never forget when our Nintendo guy at the time got to see like the pre-showing thing, and he walked up to me and he just shook his head. He's like, it's not what you think it is. It's not. And I was just like, fuck. And I just remember my stomach dropped. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, because it became clear that they had been this, Nintendo takes R&D seriously like any hardware manufacturer, but what they take really seriously with R&D is innovation, right? The analog stick, the rumble pack, the little discs, motion control,
the little discs,
innovation.
Anything like but there was reasons for them to do things like that, right? And the D-pad, it's all shoulder buttons. Like, it goes on and on and on and on. But eventually, innovation stops becoming innovation that everyone wants, and innovation becomes gimmicks that no one wants. And the Wii U is and was such an overt look at tablets. We have to do something with tablets, and it's like, no, man, like, will the gamepad serve your games? No, it clearly doesn't.
Will it even be remotely in the same league as the tablets that are on the market?
No,
not a chance.
No prayer. And that's why I hope against hope, man, that they. And I feel like it's possible, but unlikely, that they really just knock it out of the park.
There's no way.
I don't know. They have to know, that they are on borrowed time now until. And I know that people think I'm crazy when I say that because they have so much money and so much prestige in these IP. I'm not saying Nintendo's going to go out of business. I'm saying their hardware business is on borrowed time. They need to come out with something that will compete with PS4 and Xbox One, which will be on the market until 2020, if not beyond that. So, like, they have to figure it out. And I want them to figure it out.
Me too.
And I still say, as we said on Colin and Greg, the way they're going to figure it out is to get out of the hardware. And make your games.
I think NX is going to continue on this innovation route, and so then the question is going to. But the question is if they come out and they do what we keep asking for, where we keep saying we want a handheld / home console, basically imagine if you could just take the Wii U tablet with you, right, and play games on the go. If they go that way and the DS is over and this is our handheld is this, which is also it's the N, and then the X is the home console, but it's all the same thing, and that's NX. That's the innovation we'd want. You know what I mean? If they go that way and they take the ideas they have of, we want to keep changing what gaming is, we want to change what Nintendo is, but we want to talk to the gamer again, that's where it gets different. Right now, I think they still tried with the Wii U to be a toy guy. We're still going to make you toys and stuff. And they have to decide real quick if they want to keep going down that route, which I do think ends in a dead end where they have to just put their games on everything, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
It
would be ideal.
We've said it before, man. I hope that happens. Like, 'cause I love Nintendo at this point for their games, not for the system it's on.
Right.
Like, no matter what happens, I love my Wii U for the games that are on it. And when the generation ends and Wii U finally actually dies, I'm gonna look back and be like, wow, I enjoyed this shit out of enough games on that thing that made it totally worth it to me. But I don't love it because of the Wii U. God knows I don't love it because of the Wii U.
Right.
But I hope that happens one day, as much as that hurts me to say. Because when you just said like what we all want for this to be this portable / console thing, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know if that is what I want anymore.
You're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, I mean,
we almost had him. Reggie was listening.
Yeah. But I mean, if they're gonna go the hardware route, that is what I want for sure. Like that just makes sense. But then again, if they do that, then it will still be not as powerful as the other consoles. They'll still be.
But you don't need that. Why do you care? Why do you need that?
There needs. I do think that there needs to be parity, and there's no excuse for them if they're going to launch a console 3 years after the other ones that it shouldn't be more powerful than those consoles. And that's the thing that people should be excited about. You have to make a device that people want to make games for. You know, and I don't know why that's so lost on people. I don't care that the 3DS is underpowered and the games look like complete garbage on it, and that's just the fact of the matter. You know, I'm ceased to be amazed when I see a new 3DS game and I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know, I don't care about graphics, but I look at it from a perspective of, is a game developer going to be excited to make a game on 3DS? Probably not. Is a game developer excited to make a game on Wii U? No. You know, and do they make it easy to do that? No. They need to make a game. They need to make a console that engenders the support of third parties, or they will not survive. You know, it's just, and by they I don't mean Nintendo. I mean their console will not survive.
Right.
And that's obvious. I mean, they got into bed with like Platinum, for instance, to bring Bayonetta and the Wonderful 101 over and stuff like that. Like certain games are just never going to happen unless they start paying for them.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine those games are profitable. Maybe they were. They have to make something that gets people excited on the developer side. And they've burned so many bridges with developers at this point. Look at Zombie U. Like Zombie U was made by Ubisoft. They wanted to make a sequel, they didn't because it didn't sell very well. And now they're bringing it to Xbox One and PS4, it looks like, which is unbelievable and weird. You know?
Yeah.
Because they want to extract more money out of it because they're not excited anymore. They took games like Rayman and were like, we're going to delay Rayman because we need to get it on the other consoles. You know? Like, we're not releasing it now.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. It's done on Wii U, but we're not releasing it. Like, that's incredible. That's incredible stuff. Because they know they can only make one introduction with their game. It doesn't matter what consoles it's on. Mm-hmm. I fear for Nintendo in the sense that they're going to keep trying to go down this road and then they're going to find themselves in financial trouble. But they do have a lot of money and they have valuable IP and they're doing things like, you know, a theme park integration and stuff like that, which is awesome. And at the end of the day, they own Mario, they own Donkey Kong, they own all these valuable IP. And we're seeing a different Nintendo now with their cooperation with DNA, and Nintendo that I would never. And that's why I'm so confident in saying now, not confident, but more comfortable saying maybe they will stop making hardware at some point. Because if you asked me 6 months ago if they were going to put their shit on cell phones, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Of course they're not going to do that. And not only are they doing that, they got in bed with another company because they admitted, which is amazing, that they don't know how to do it. I mean, this is a different Nintendo that we're seeing now. So
the Skylanders integration I thought was a big step forward too.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is like people shit on the Direct, but it's like, I mean, that was a huge announcement, not for us, but for the industry and for all like what's happening right now. That's a huge deal.
For the Amiibros, they're gonna care about
There's a whole ton of them.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I'm the thing that never changes for me with Nintendo is I'm always rooting for them.
Yeah.
I'm never surprised when they fuck it up. But I'm always rooting for them because at the end of the day, a strong Nintendo and a healthy Nintendo is good for games and good for innovation and drives everyone to make better games. And I do believe there will be a time again when everyone looks at Nintendo and says like they make the best games, and that's all that matters because they do make the best games consistently.
That's the whole thing. I don't think people look at them now and don't say that.
I personally think people look at studios like Naughty Dog. I think people look at studios like Bethesda Game Studios. I think people are looking at CD Projekt Red. I think people are looking at all over, not at Nintendo anymore. Personally, you know, and not looking at Nintendo Studios and being like, you know, looking at Rockstar, looking at whoever and being like they make the best games.
Looking past Mario Golf World Tour.
Come on, guys.
Sort the fuck out, kids.
All right, so going back to it before we close out the topic. So who won E3?
The gamers.
If we had to choose one besides the gamers, do we all agree Sony?
I agree Sony in that it spoke to me more, but I still think Microsoft makes a very
That's
valid
the thing
case.
is like Microsoft rises to the top in my mind just because Sony was a great conference, but then it's the same thing. Like some of those games didn't speak to me, the majority of them did, but Microsoft I felt was the one that had like oomph to it. You know what I mean? And Bethesda, I'm not counting. I mean, Fallout was amazing. Fallout's going to be amazing. I can't wait for Fallout. But in terms of who won, I think it comes down to you start talking about first parties where it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like, is that the scale? Is it those three? But I think it is.
Well, the scale's outdated. It's one of those things that none of this makes sense, and it's just all jerking ourselves off talking about this, saying what we want.
It's so weird for me to think about it, though, that we're in a world where Final Fantasy VII HD, or not HD, remake was announced. and it's not like, oh, Sony fucking won, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy to me. And like,
It shows how strong it is, man.
but it has it been too long? Like that's the thing is I feel like that announcement any other year, I feel would have been a much bigger deal than people are making it out to be. Not to say they're not, because obviously if you look on the internet, it's like the number one friggin' thing everywhere. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's really weird talking to you guys and feeling like I need to keep bringing it up. You know,
It's because it's so far off. I mean, that's the thing is that this is just a very premature announcement that really had no business being made, to be very honest with you. So it's like that's
That
the
was
one
the
thing.
part of it,
That's
yeah.
that's to me. That's the one thing why I'm not excited about it. It's the same reason why I'm not excited about Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15 because I know they're nowhere near being done. So it's just like,
I think
and Final Fantasy 7 is way behind those
Yeah.
games.
Final Fantasy VII also, I think, you saw it at PSX. And, like, the way everyone built and started, like, that was when, holy fuck, are they about to, oh, it's the PC thing. And so we already had that tease. And so,
Yeah.
like, this was still like, what's happening exactly? And then it was over. You're like, oh, cool. And it was like, yeah. Oh, clearly not anywhere close to being a real game yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool. That's a great announcement. I'm glad. But it wasn't like it ended and then they went into a demo and like, you know, this is what's going to be
Yeah.
happening next year and
Oh
shit
my
like
God.
that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, they're building. I mean, they're entering production, which is a bad. I mean, it's great. They have to enter production at some point, but it's bad if you want to play the game anytime soon. Especially remaking a game like that, it's gonna take time, man,
Yeah.
and effort and massaging that just so
Finesse.
You know, like finesse. It's a great word for it. They have to treat it with great care, and I think there's gonna be a lot of problems making this game. I think it's exciting, but I think this game is gonna go through a lot of problems
Yeah.
because. CyberConnect will try to change things.
Well, okay,
You know,
so-
and I don't think that's going to resonate.
CyberConnect.
Yeah, we're gonna keep that for a topic maybe next week. I'm trying to figure out how to best do it because
Get it, Portello.
Greg's not so much a.
I'll go
guy.
play Batman when you guys talk
Yeah,
about it.
you
So
go do that. But I definitely want to talk to you about what you think they should change, how they're gonna change it, and if that's such a big deal or not. But
Sure.
whatever. We'll
It's a
get to
huge
that.
deal if they try to change anything. But we'll
Yeah,
we'll see.
we'll say that for next time.